Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. This is part 7C of this video series. We're going to talk about 1991 Cleo Valentines, Investor's Journal, a few other oddballs and miscellaneous cards, hand cuts. And so with that, let's go ahead and get on into it. But first, a little recap from last time. On these, I said that I tried to look for the magazine during the last video and I couldn't find it, but here it is right here. I was able to find it. This is like the Sports Superstars Annual. This is basically just kind of this comic book. And then inside here, there's a little sheet where all three of these cards were attached, and you just simply hand cut them out to make 3 cards, obviously. So this is what the magazine looks like. If you want to get a copy, they are readily available. So yeah, just wanted to point that out. Okay, so moving on in the binder. Okay, 1991 Cleo Valentines. So there are 18 of these, not just slightly smaller than standard cards. And there are, let's see, 2, 4, 6, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 talls. And these cards came in these boxes here, and they kind of just rattle around. And so when you open the box, this is kind of what it looks like. You've got all these different sheets, including the talls. This one's obviously been some of these have been extracted, obviously. And then on the back of these boxes, you have these here that you can cut out. And that's what these two here are, and that's what these two here are, and these two here are placeholders for these two, which I just got these two in the mail, this box here in the mail, and I am going to cut these out as soon as this video has concluded. So yeah, now as far as grading goes, it's really hard to get really high grades. I think a Gem Mint's like impossible to get. But the reason why they're so hard to get high grades is that when these were released, they just kind of just rattle around in here, right? So that they're not secure at all. So when that proves to be problematic during shipping, and you know, you're probably not going to get good grades. But also, you see I got both SGC and PSA grades here for the talls. SGC, I've noticed, tends to be a lot more strict and difficult, and they grade these a lot harder than PSA does. So, you know, I would recommend sending these to PSA versus SGC. I do like the SGC slabs better, which is why I preference them. But, you know, like some of these, like these 3 6s right here, no way. All of these should be 7s, in my opinion. I mean, if this right here is a 7, or if these two are 7s, then these 3 here are 7s. Because, you know, from a centering standpoint, from the edges, corners, surface, you know, there's practically no differences. These two here, these 2 5s, I kind of would have graded these as a 6 myself. These do have some corner wear because these were the cards that are kind of on the sides. So yeah, these are less than a 7, but I don't think they're less than a 6. And then this one here, these two here are box bottoms. This one, yeah, I kind of agree. This one should be a 4. I never should have sent this one in to get graded. And I'm going to use, I'm going to cut this one here out and send this one in, and put this one here on the chopping block. But yeah, so that's Cleo Valentines. And then let's moving on here. Let's talk about these 8 cards here before we get into the sports reports. So these here are the 1990 McDonald's perforated sheet cards. There's also a Jackie Joyner Kersey set. But yeah, these are also gradable by PSA, SGC, and I think even Beckett and a few others grade these. So yeah, and they're readily available. They're relatively cheap. So yeah, if if you want to get them part of your collection, they shouldn't be easy to acquire. It should be pretty easy to acquire. Okay, so moving on. So these 6 here came out of a magazine known as the Sports Report. Okay, and if you notice, there's corn on the back, so obviously this came from the Midwest. Yep, St. Peter, Illinois. So these are, I think these came out in 90, I think these came out in 93, actually. Let me see here. It was either 92 or 93. But as you can see, you've got gold bases, which came in these. Obviously, this gold foil cover. And then you have a silver parallel here. And then you've got 2 prism parallels here. And by far and away, these 2 here are the more difficult to acquire. This one being the most difficult to find. Now, there's also other cards that came on these sheets. Like, you got Frank Thomas, Ken Griffey Jr. Let's see if I can't do a little bit better job of sorting these out for you here. And several other players. So, yeah. But if you want this card, look for this magazine here. This is Volume 1, Issue 2, Spring. I believe this is 93. That's going to have this card here. And this one right here, I believe, is going to be in this issue here, Volume 1, Issue 1. And I think this is a 92. I think it's 92. So just FYI on those 2. So that's a sports report. So let's move these out of the way. Now let's move on to the next page of our binder here. We're gonna talk about Investor's Journal, but first let's talk about these RBI prototypes. So this here's a cutout, and this one right here is just it's actually a baseball card. And this was, yeah, this is just a Michael Jordan White Sox card back in I think it's either 1990 or 91. But several other players were also in this set here, including Ryan Sandberg. A lot of these were put in plaques in the early 90s at card shows. But yeah. So that brings us to Investor's Journal. Okay, so this one right here came out in 1991, and the rest of these came out in 1992. These 2 do not have any what they call colors parallels. And if they do, I sure haven't seen any. But the rest of them do. And just like the sports report, there were other players on there, such as, like Frank Thomas, Griffey, Sandberg, and others. So those are 92. These 7 here were 1993. Now, according to the trading card database, there should be a red one of these, and a red one of these, and a blue one of these, but I'm not sure that's true. And if it is, I hope somebody can correct me and show me some evidence otherwise. But I believe it's only these 7. So you've got the gold base, red parallel, this one. These 2 have blue parallels. And this one here also has a prism parallel. And then these 5 plus, there's a few more here. Yes, plus these 2 are 1994. These 2 are were cutouts of magazine covers. There's a gold and a silver. I think these might be gradable, so I might send these to SGC. But yeah, pretty much the same story. You got the gold prism base and you got the silver parallel here. And I think that's all. I think there's just those 7. I'm pretty sure for 94. Again, if I'm wrong, please somebody correct me. And then you've got also this investor spotlight. Also, these were also hand cut. So yeah, that's 94, 93, 92, and this one from 1991 for Investors Journal. And here is 1995, and this is where it starts to get really interesting. These are going to get really cool. So everything in 1995 had a gold base, a silver parallel, and some of them even had what they call a copper parallel, copper or bronze. And these are the most expensive, or the most valuable, I should say. And these four here are the 1996 Investors Journal. And these two, or these two here are the gold base, these two here are the copper parallels. And these two, from what I understand, there's only a print run of 250. And I've only seen like maybe one or two of these pop up in like 10 years. So I kind of think that that's right. At least that's what is being published on Trading Card Database, which does have errors, but for the most part, it's well over 90% accurate, especially for the Jordans. And then over here, this is going to be the last page we're going to cover before I wrap up the video. Well, first, let me do one thing real quick. So those Investor Journal cards came in magazines like this. Go back here, 1, 2, right? And, you know, just basically just give you some, it gives you like data and like who they're picking and why they're picking them and who they think is going to go up, which players to buy, all kinds of cool stuff. So obviously this is kind of useless right now, but it is kind of interesting to read through these to see what the history was. And the sports report is kind of similar, by the way. And then finally, well, not finally, we've got two more sets here to cover. This right here is known as the Investor's Focus. These came out in 1994. So you've got gold bases. These two are gold prism. This is just a gold foil. Then you've got these two silver prism parallels. And there's also a silver foil parallel to this one. I've seen the Griffey and I've seen the Frank Thomas, but I've never seen the Jordan. But I know it exists because the Jordan is on the same sheet as the Frank Thomas and the Ken Griffey. So it's out there somewhere. I just haven't found it yet. So that's the Investor's Focus. And finally, last thing we're going to cover today is these here. These are known as the pocket pages. And I believe these were from 92 or 93 through 94. But yeah, you had these two here, which if you look at the back of these, this is what the pocket pages look like. By the way, it kind of gave you like lists of, you know, hobby news, you know, autographs where the players were signing, all kinds of cool stuff. But yeah, but there was also this card here in the back that you could cut out, and that's what these two cards here are. But inside here, there was this sheet that contained these cards along with others, like Chris Webber, Shaq, Frank Thomas, etc. So you had some promos, and then you had the actual sheet themselves. But yeah, so that's pocket pages. All right, so we're at about just under 14 minutes. I want to keep this video as short as possible. A lot more to cover, but I appreciate you guys watching. If you like this video, please feel free to comment, rate, and subscribe. And I will see you all next time when I cover part 7D of this series. So I appreciate it. See you guys later.